Not for movie stars.
I'm not going to wear makeup.
I'm going to get you to wear makeup.
Hello and welcome everyone back to another episode of...
Not fighting.
We're just debating whether or not I should be wearing makeup during the podcast.
I mean, I say, why not?
No way. And if
I'm going to do his makeup.
cut to like the next one, it's like just very...
Tyler's a drag queen.
It's very opposite. I have like lip liner on and like my eyebrows have been shaved off and penciled
He was just complaining though because, you know, this quarantine has got us like, you know, I need my hair done. He needs his hair done. He maybe had some mistakes with shaving his face this morning. Thought a guard was on.
If you're
and
like,
then,
why does that guy look like the guy that fixes my cable and loves Cheetos? It's because I didn't have the guard on my razor today, and so like I went like this, and I realized like I just took a big chunk out. And for those that don't know,
I mean, you can't really tell that he has a beard most of the time.
You can't tell,
but you can. Like,
but here's the thing: I can barely grow facial hair, but thank God.
I feel like the thing that broke my heart about it the most is you've just been working so hard on getting that beard to a certain level.
I mean, that beard's like 3 years old.
And you've been doing a good job with it, and then you just messed it up, and I was like, oh, no. No.
I'm not on a hot streak, so for those that are listening to this episode and it may feel like deja vu, you'd be going through the same thing we are, because this episode is actually one that we recorded at a different time. And then
when Tyler had more facial hair.
It is. And unfortunately, we uploaded to YouTube, and I lost it after that.
The video disappeared.
So, oops.
Yeah.
It's like my facial hair. It's just not there anymore.
It was an oopsie.
They're like, it looks like he has a goatee still. I do.
He's not allowed to touch the rest of his face. I told him, I was like, don't touch it. No, if you do anything else, I might not be attracted to you anymore.
It's weird that this, like, very small amount of hair, it's very detectable. I mean, like, honestly, if you're not watching this in HD or not watching it at all, it's not detectable. You're just like, it looks like
it's so blind.
It looks like there's a blur on his face.
But it's funny how much of a difference I feel like it makes. Like, the last time you like shaved with like a straight, like a razor, shaved your face, I was like, babe, no, we can't. We just can't do that anymore. I prefer a little bit
more rugged.
A little bit of fuzz.
And a little bit makes a big difference. And that's partially what we're talking about today. And that is the difference between something that is and isn't an accomplishment in jiu-jitsu. And
that was such a great segue.
I'm good at this. Like, trust me. I live my life on a microphone, so I'm pretty good at getting us in and out of ad spots, whatever you need. You know, I don't know. Getting spots out. Speaking of which,
you're
Mr.
failing
Clean.
right now.
No, yeah, I mean, today we're talking about something we prefaced in the last episode, which was that basically jiu-jitsu is filled with false accomplishments, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of false accomplishments. And it's, you know, like, I want to preface it with, like, if you're excited about something you've achieved or accomplished, like, I don't want to diminish anyone's goals or things that they've achieved, because to you, you know, everybody has, I guess, things that they consider, it's like, to you that's a big deal. Like, maybe it's not to like other people, but like, it's a big deal. And like, good for you. I'm really proud of you for putting yourself out there and doing those things and challenging yourself. And like, I want to preface it with that. But there are so many people that want to put on this facade like you've achieved more than you have. And inside the jiu-jitsu community, it's like, if you're going to pretend that what you've accomplished is the same as like someone else that's actually accomplished what you're pretending, I think it takes away from the people who have actually achieved that. So it's like, don't pretend. Like, stay in your lane. Like, know what you've done. I'm happy for you. I'm always like everything, I always tell like my students, my friends, like if you're going to do a competition, like stepping out of the mat is a huge accomplishment because there's so many people that are afraid to do that. And like just like signing up and like putting yourself out there and challenging yourself in that way is like a big accomplishment. That being said, let's not pretend
that it's a challenge to stand on a podium with a gold medal that you didn't have to fight to get.
You showed up to get. Like, how many times it's like you've seen that? And, as an athlete or a sponsored athlete and, black belt, I think, there's been times where I'm like, that's happened to me and people knew I was competing and my sponsors want like to get like the publicity or whatever. And so you have to post something about it. But I always preface it with like, nobody was there. Like,
yeah, but you've never competed in a tournament where you didn't just do the absolute. Like, that was never a situation for you where you weren't doing the absolute too.
Yeah.
And that was always like in there too. The people that like have to think they're sponsors and just whatever, like that's one thing.
Yeah.
But it's the people that are like post a picture of them just with their gold medal and like, like, oh yeah, gold medal today, like they won't say that they were the only one in their division, but they won't not say that either. Yes. And they insinuate that.
Yes. It's just what you left untold to make people assume that you actually like did something to deserve that,
The worst one I saw too, like, by the way, I thought about this after we recorded the last episode that we didn't actually get to play this, is the worst one I've ever seen was somebody that was like, they posted a picture with them with their gold medal and like their way of like being like no one competed in the division or whatever. They were like, the work wasn't very hard today, but still got it done or whatever, to make it seem as if like it was like, oh, it was the easiest gold medal I ever got. And it's like, well, it is, because you didn't fight anybody.
Yeah. And, and a lot of us, it's, in certain tournaments, if you're fighting for the IBJJF, you need to collect points. So it's like, yeah, like you're going to make it, enter the easiest division, the one with the fewest competitors or that, or maybe, I've been in scenarios where I've had girls in my division and then they move out of the division because there's not a lot of other girls in different ones. I move into weight class, there's nobody, because they're like, hey, I just need the points, so we'll fight in the open class. And I'm like, okay, like I'm not mad at that. Like it is what it is. But for me, that's not something that I would ever, like I always like debate, like should I do it? Whatever. Maybe I should, because it would be easier. But I'm like, no, like I want to win either way. Like I'm not out there just for the points. Like I like to compete because I like to win. And
I think that's one of the things that's like, people always give you a hard time about being like the truth. Like, oh, Jena just tells it like she is, tells it like it is. Like, that's like why we call you the truth. But like, no, it's that part of the authenticity where you do a lot of times the weight class that's harder with more people in it, just because like that's what you want to do. And I think this is the antithesis of that. The person that's like, the worst is like, it's one thing if you sign up in a division and then you post a picture of you in a gold medal and you don't even tell people like, oh, I didn't even fight anybody, and then you don't do the absolute, but there was nobody truly in your division, versus the person that's like gold medal, whatever. And I've seen this, the person that's like a featherweight and they get like the ultra heavy gold medal and they're like gold medal, ultra heavyweight, and it's like, you didn't fight anybody. It's not like you beat some big guy. Like,
no, you just put your name in a division. There was nobody there. And probably changed your division at the very last moment so that nobody else could sign up in it.
Yep. And to me, the only thing that's sadder than that is the person that does fight, loses, and then is like, silver medal, not what I expected, but blah, 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 like, whatever.
And it's like you just had one other person in your division. So you took second, because by default, because you lost. And I think that bothers me from I'm super competitive, and so it bothers me because it's like, okay, well, you took second, but like you lost, and so I hate losing more than I like winning. And so for me, it's like that's such a, it just gets at me in a way that just cuts me deep.
And that's the thing is, I can imagine the person that goes into this tournament and they're looking at their division, they're like, yes, only one other person, so no matter what, I get second, right? So they've already imagined this. So when they post that silver medal, on social media, they've already thought about that. They're like, the worst I can do is second place. I can't wait to tell everybody about winning second place.
Right. And it's like the same thing. It's like on that same vein. It's like when you have people come to you, students or like other, like your friends, and they're like, oh, it's only this many fights to medal. I hate that. That bothers me more than anything. I only have this many fights to medal. No, I never look at how many fights to medal. I look at how many fights to win, because I don't ever enter a tournament expecting to lose. I think that's like what bothers me. And maybe I'm getting a little bit heated about this, but it's like, if you don't expect to win, like, why are you showing up?
That's the thing is like, you can imagine the person
at the highest level, I should say, at the highest level. There's a lot of other things that, like, you know, at different levels, but like black belt, adult, why?
So you can want to compete for a lot of different reasons. You can want to challenge yourself. I like to compete personally because it's like, it's a reason to develop. Like when you get ready for a tournament, you get better and you have to focus. But
it's nice to have that goal, something to work towards.
But when somebody's like, oh, I only have this many matches to medal, and they're excited about it, it's like, that's a person that their goal is to be able to tell somebody that they've accomplished something. And it's like, to me,
your goal is to lose and take third place.
And the thing is like, you're competitive, and that's like a high value for you. Yeah. But for me, accomplishment is like one of my highest values. Like I love to accomplish stuff. And this like second place like winner, like this like gets us both in a special place. Because like for me, it's like you didn't accomplish anything. You didn't accomplish anything, and you know that. And that's the thing that kills me on this.
Yeah. And it's not to say it's like, it's not to take anything away from that person that actually went out there, put themselves out there, fought and lost, because, you know, like I said, that is something that's hard to do. Not everybody has like the balls to do that. And
we're balls at all. I mean, we're balls at all.
It's true. But like, don't pretend it's something that it's not. Don't act like you won anything. You lost. You just took second by default.
You lost.
You're a loser.
But that, to me, that's like a big part of this. And that's like basically the type of person that wants to make out this like a silver medal. Like, right? So like most people, like I would, maybe I'm overgeneralizing, but it's like my mom and dad, if I was like, what do you associate a gold or silver medal with? And they would be like, the Olympics, right? And it's the person that's like, I took second, they lost. So this is like a couple people combined.
Yeah.
But the person that's like, oh, I lost and silver medal, you know? But then they post silver medal, like silver medal at the Chicago International Open. You know, I want to thank my sponsors, whatever. And they're like a Master 2 blue belt. And you can just imagine, it's like, no, I see what you're doing. You want your family to believe that you're like...
Yeah, your friends and family to believe that you're better than you are. Because, like, it's something that's like...
The Michael Phelps of jiu-jitsu.
If I was somebody like... let's just take it. If I was somebody like, let's say, Travis Stevens, who is a judo like Olympian, took second place in the Olympics, which is super hard to do and is a huge accomplishment to get that far in the Olympics. Like, that's insane. Like, crazy, especially for Americans, because I don't think there's been a lot of like American judokas doing that. So it's like, that's an incredible feat. And then you see somebody posting like they accomplished the same thing. Like, calm down. You did not. Okay? You're a hobbyist and you entered a division and you lost. Let's not get it twisted.
In Toronto, you know, like, and that's the thing is, it's like, you know,
you're like hating on all these cities. It's like, we're not hating on the city. We just know that there's like not as many competitors there.
Shout out to Toronto. Shout out to Drake.
We've never been there.
Hashtag never been there.
I don't like being cold.
But the thing is like, you've got people that basically want, like, jiu-jitsu is not a professional sport, right? The closest thing that we have is probably something like Fight to Win, honestly.
And it's not an Olympic sport, so you're not competing on that level either.
No, it's not. And so, I mean, if you really want to look at it, like, even though the IBJJF pays money for like their rankings or whatever at the end of the year, and there are tournaments that
they're starting to pay money for like,
and there's shows that pay
winners.
purses. Like, Fight to Win is a true circuit, and if you have a certain ranking, if you like are a draw, if you have accomplishments, like, you can fight regularly on Fight to Win.
Yeah.
That is like one of the closest things that we actually have to professional jiu-jitsu. Shout out to Seth Daniels. Shout out to Fight to Win.
Yeah.
But like, to me, that's one of those areas where it's like, when you see people posting these pictures of medals and stuff, it's like, you didn't do anything. Like, you want your friends and family, the people that don't know jiu-jitsu, to believe that you're like this, like, I don't know, Dale Earnhardt type character.
What?
I knew that was going to get you if I used like a race car reference.
Like, what?
Which, by the way, I'm not into racing cars or anything.
I mean, he's
if
from
you're
rural
into it,
Missouri,
whatever,
so probably he is.
I'm
secret.
not
It's
into
a secret hobby he's hidden from me for years.
Yes.
Or not hobby, I guess interest.
I love race cars. I get it.
Yes.
To me, I don't know. To me, that's the worst sport. I mean, to call it a sport, but
I don't know. They sweat a lot, apparently.
yeah. I mean, I do jiu-jitsu, so like, I don't know. People think it's karate, so who am I making fun of, really?
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, that's a part of it. Is like, it's not a professional sport. You're wanting to pretend that it is. And this isn't to take away from the people that are like in the Masters division. The Masters division is really, really tough, but it's not the same thing as the adult division. I hate to say it.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. So to say, like, it's funny because, I can compete in the Masters division, and I did that because I had people telling me that you should do it, it'll be whatever, and it was cool. Like, I won a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I won like double gold at Europeans and the Master Worlds, and it was fun, and Pan Ams, and it was fun, it was cool. But the feeling of accomplishment, like, I felt like I had accomplished more, and this is not a knock on, and maybe it's just like a different time in my life, but I had felt like I had accomplished more when I won the Worlds as a brown belt adult versus the Masters divisions. And at the time, I don't think there was very many women competing in the Masters divisions. Like, now there's almost the same people competing at, if you were to look at my division at adult worlds and then Master Worlds, there's a lot of the same women competing in those because there's just a lot of crossover at this point. But before it wasn't. But even still, like, it just doesn't feel the same, like fighting those divisions. It's like there's so much more weight and like at the adult division, because like that's like the epitome of like accomplishment, right? Like, that's the highest level you can achieve. And for me, I don't know. I just don't like when people are like, oh, like, I'm a world champion, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, you need to preface it. Like, if I've put, like, I would say Masters world champion or Masters open class world champion versus, adult world champion. Those are very different things.
Because the thing is like, if you do jiu-jitsu, people know. And
yeah.
if you do jiu-jitsu, like, I mean, like, that's the thing, too, is like, not everybody follows competition jiu-jitsu. So, like,
yeah.
if you are like, I'm a world champion in jiu-jitsu, and like, the majority of people at your academy are not competitors, not competitive school or whatever, there might be like, cool, this guy must be one of the best in the world, right? And you're like, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And I don't, it's like, it sucks because it's like everything in me wants to be like, I need to like be the PC police or whatever, and like be like, but they only accomplish at this, whatever. And I don't want to diminish from your accomplishment. Like, one of the things that was kind of funny to me is like, I competed in ADCC this year, and I lost my first match, and I just like I did not show up to fight. Like, there was like a lot of things going on in my head, and I just I just ate it hard. Like, just was bad. Best prepared I'd ever been. And then after the match and after the tournament, coming back to the academy, and I had like a lot of support from my teammates and my the other, it's just like everybody at the academy, just like, and all my teammates were just like so proud of me that I was even there, that I had achieved that, like, that whatever. And I'm like, I was so grateful for that, like, that they were just, proud of me for being able to get to that position, because it's hard to get to compete in that division. But for me, I was just like, it like kind of like ate at me when they were talking it up, just because I'm like, but I lost, like, I didn't do anything. I just didn't show up that day to fight, and it bothered me.
The point of this
I just don't understand how you can pretend when things.
But that's the thing too, is like, this isn't to like be hard on people. Like, you're harder on yourself than most people are.
Yeah.
But the thing about like the masters thing too is like masters divisions are tough. Like it's a real accomplishment.
For sure.
And honestly, like
it's like Lovato's fighting the masters division. Josh Hanger's fighting the masters. Shanji can fight the masters division. Like you have a lot of people that like
you mentioned it earlier. Like most a lot of
Hamelo's fighting the masters divisions. Like it's not like you
have guys that are winning world
slouches
that can compete at the they could easily win the masters and all that kind of stuff. So the biggest thing to me is basically the people that are like being dishonest about like what it is. Like to me, I love that there's masters divisions because it basically makes it to where it's like anybody that basically does jiu-jitsu has the ability to compete with somebody at the same age and same skill level. And that's great because I think jiu-jitsu competition is really great for growth. But what I dislike is basically people that are misrepresenting themselves.
Yeah, don't.
And this is the thing is like, this is like the core of what it is. It's like you have people that like make up records and stuff like this. Like I'm the most accomplished, or I have more wins than any other master purple belt in the last 3 years. And you're like,
who keeps track of that? And how long did you have to go like through other people's like stuff to figure that out?
How many records are there of the Master 3 purple belts?
I mean, there's not even like that many. Like it would be hard for me to go tally up my record as a black belt. Like, you know what I'm saying? As fighting, because it would just be, I don't know, it'd just be.
But that's the thing. It's like these false records where it's somebody that like basically wants to like create this weird stat. So if you're ever like looking at somebody that wants to claim an accomplishment, I mean, fundamentally, if somebody's like claiming something, you're like, wow, I've never heard of this person, and they're claiming a lot. Like, look into it.
Yep.
Look into it.
There's some hidden facts there.
But that's the thing is like
it's like the same thing as like is like leaving out information, telling a lie. I think so.
Yes, like it's the beginning where it's like gold medal, but it's like you're the only one that fought, and it's like but I have more gold medals in 2019 than any other master purple belt, and you're like, but you didn't fight.
You fought anybody 3 times.
It's January, bro. That's the thing. It's like that's the type of records they make up. It's like I'm like the #1 ranked whatever.
It's so funny
2019,
because like,
it's like there's one tournament and you didn't fight anybody.
For me, for me too. It's like people are like, oh, what's your ranking? Like I'm like, I don't know. I never look at that because if I wanted to worry about my ranking, like I would be competing.
But you're talking about IBJJF ranking too, where it's like that matters to like a very small slice of jiu-jitsu. I feel like
people who need visas,
immigration lawyers. And that's the thing too is like you have people that like want to claim these like it's usually people that haven't like really put themselves out there that want to accomplish things like I'm undefeated or like like never been submitted or whatever. It's like when I hear people say that, I'm just like, oh cool, that means you're not competing in anything important.
I mean that's what like we kind of joked about it like tongue in cheek because the year that I was that I won the black belt, I won the adult world championship for the Nogi Worlds. I was joking about, I'm like, oh, I'm still undefeated in Nogi, but I hadn't competed since I was a blue belt in Nogi, and so it's like I went this like huge span of time without competing in Nogi. So it's like I was undefeated, but I'm like, yeah, but I never competed in like 6 years. So it was like a joke that we made, but people do that and like are serious about it, and
that's the thing is like we were talking about, you were saying like undefeated Nogi, and I was like undefeated MMA. Not only that, for the last decade, you're looking at the reigning, defending, Beat Down Magazine lightweight champion. The show
happened one time.
They gave me a title fight with 0 fights, and then I won the belt. And not only that, I'm pretty sure they went bankrupt like before I even fought that night.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that they had one belt for all, so the whole card was their first card ever. They had every fight was basically a title fight, and they had one belt that everybody got to take a picture with, and then you had to give it back, and they're like, oh, we're going to send you your actual belt later. They never did. So your sponsor bought you a belt, but so you have a belt, but it wasn't even from the promotion.
They even like I sold tickets, and that was the only way you got to make money from it. Is like you sold the tickets
because it was an amateur fight, right?
Yeah, that one was an amateur fight, and they were like, when they came time to pay me, they were like, hey, instead of paying you, we're making a video game. How would you like to be in the video game? And I was like, nah, I'll take my $140. Hard pass.
How many people did that? I wonder.
They told me, and I don't know if this is true or not. They might have just tried to tell me. They were like, the other guys, like, they opted for the video game. And I'm like, or do we get paid for the video game? And they're like, we don't know yet. And I was like, nah, hard pass.
What's funny about that experience is that how many years later did that guy come back to you? Like, after, like, just, like, kind of screwing you over, like, skipping town because he owed a whole bunch of people money and, like, went bankrupt. And then, like, probably 10 years later, it's like, hey, we're coming back. We're putting it together again. You want to come fight?
You want to come defend the title? I'm like,
no. This is also an event where they had the fighters setting up the chairs before the match.
My trainer was like,
and they called 911 just to get medics there because they didn't have any medics hired.
They just called 911 so the ambulance driver would show up and like take everybody's blood pressure. But yeah, we showed up and the guy that was like my MMA coach at the time. We walk in and he's like, hold up. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, I've seen this before. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, they're going to try to make you put the chairs up. And I'm like, what? And he's like, just hang back for a minute. And sure enough, there's guys with gloves on, like just setting the chairs out for everybody.
Also a guy with his hands wrapped smoking a cigarette before he fights.
That guy, actually, they weren't going to let him fight because his blood pressure was too high. And he's like, what do you expect? I took a bunch of yellow jackets before I got here because I got to go back to work after this. And they were like, that's not healthy. He's like, let me just go outside and take a walk. My blood pressure will come back down. It's not the first time this happened. Comes back in. They're like, you're good to go. And he's like, that's what I thought.
So crazy. That's what happens in Missouri, people.
And this was like, what, 12, 13 years ago? 12 years ago, probably?
It was before we were married.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of all this is basically like you have these things that in reality, they are... And they're an accomplishment for you. So me, that MMA fight in particular is something I'm really proud of because I trained really hard for it, and it was fun. It was this like really unique experience. But I don't look at it and I'm not like, you know what? I have really accomplished something significant in MMA. Yeah, I didn't. It was a really fun thing personally. It's like one of the things I look back on and I'm so fond of.
And I remember that whole time, like I was getting ready with you. Like I wasn't even. I had just started jiu-jitsu when you were getting ready for a fight. And I remember we were doing conditioning together. And I was like, solidarity, we're going to diet together. Like, I was cutting weight with you. We were doing all the things together. And you worked really hard and you sacrificed a lot for that. So it's like not to take away from any accomplishment or anything that anybody's worked for. Because even if, you show up for a tournament and you don't have anybody in your division, but like you still have to show up, you still have to work hard, and you have to make weight because most of the time you don't know that there's not going to be a competitor until the last minute. But don't hide the truth in the facts that are like, and to make it seem like you've done more than you have.
And I think that's the point of this is like the jiu-jitsu competition should really be about you. And there is a portion of it where it becomes like a professional sport or you're competing at the highest level. But the biggest thing is like, this should be about you.
But even at that level, it's like, it's a very selfish endeavor,
It is. The competition can be that way anyways. But the thing is like, it's whenever you start to twist it and turn it and you want credit for it without actually accomplishing anything. Yeah. Like
if you win like a purple belt division, like that's a tough accomplishment. Like that's a really hard if you're fighting like purple belt at like the adult division, like and you win that, you're probably had a million fights in one day and you fought some really tough people. But you didn't win at black belt. Like that's a different thing. So like don't like put it. It's like, oh, I'm a black belt, because I'll see a lot of times on people's like social media profiles. It's like a 12-time like world champion, and it's like you got your black belt last month. So how are you a 12-time world champion? Oh, like you're talking about from white belt to black. So okay, no, let's keep those things separate, right?
And the thing is too is it's like you have people that want to claim this kind of stuff where it's like 12-time whatever world champion or whatever. And it's like, I see, that's the other thing too. It's like people start getting this very broad description of what a world champion is.
Like you won the Naga World Championship.
It's like, I'm a world champion. I won the whatever tournament in their version of a world championship. Like, that's not a world championship.
Yeah.
It's like whenever somebody's like wins a title in MMA and it's like, I'm a world champion. It's like, yeah, but you're a world champion in like disco stands, like Colorado beatdown.
Yeah. It's like you're not a UFC world champion or even a Bellator world champion. So it's like, calm down. And
so to me, like, this is like just what's wrong with all of it is just like people that want to basically like, it's like stolen valor, like, you know, in the military, we have somebody that's like, oh, I was in the military, and they really weren't, or whatever it is. It's like, you know, obviously it's not egregious and doesn't have like the same connotations or whatever. But this is what you're trying to do: is you want the admiration, you want like the people to be like, oh wow, whatever. But the thing is like, if you do jiu-jitsu and you're like lying to your other friends that do jiu-jitsu, it's like, everybody knows. You can't convince me. No. Like, I can't tap you out 4 times when we're training, and then we get done, and you'd be like, yeah, man, I'm actually really better than you. And be like, no, you're not. Like, you're not going to talk me out of it. We talked about this, like, before, but it's like, you know, we have a really close friend that's, like, a stud, super, super good. And when we were coming up in St. Louis, like, I'd run into other people at open mats, and they'd be like, oh, you train with so-and-so? I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I trained with him once. I did really good. And I'm like, no, you didn't. I train with him every day. He's a stud. He's way better than you. We just train together. You can't convince me that you're better than him when I have rolled with both of you. Like, I know you are not that good. Like, yeah, that's the thing is like, you know, it's like, you know, kind of cliche, but it's like the mats don't lie. It's like, yeah, like the truth comes out like very easily. That's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu. It's like every day you get to go out there and like prove yourself and test yourself when you're training. And so, you know, the people closest to you that are training with you every day, it's like they know more than anyone. So don't try and lie to them or pretend that you've achieved more than you have, because it's taking away from the people who have actually achieved what you're pretending to achieve. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too, is like I'll run into people every now and then that like, you know, that I'll train with, like even at black belt, that'll be like afterwards, like trying to tell me about all the things they've done or accomplished or whatever. And I'm like, cool. I know that definitely people train and compete differently or whatever, but it's like, I feel like what you're trying to do is convince me that I think you're good. And we've rolled. So whether I think you're good or not, like I know, but you're not going to be able to talk your way into making me believe differently than I already do. Yeah. And that's not to say that like maybe you did train that one day and you're like, man, I wasn't my best today. I had an off day and like it sucks because that's going to be that person's like first impression of me or whatever. It's like that's like that we have those anomalies, but like even when I feel like most of the time when you're training with somebody, if you've been training long enough, you can tell like this person just seems off today or this person seems whatever. It's like, you know that you just know. And that's the thing is like most of the time, like the people that are claiming these false accomplishments, they're obvious. And to me, the people that are the victims are really just their family and friends believing that, like... I mean, it's like the same thing. Like, the community is very small in a sense. Because how many times have we seen these fake black belts, like, get called out and destroyed in ways that, like, make me cringe? Because I'm like, oh, did you have to do them like that? Like, you know... Did you have to pee on his kids? Did you have... But it's like so bad. But like, you know, people get called out all the time for like having like fake belts and that kind of thing. But more fake black belts, you know. But I feel like this is not just jiu-jitsu. It's all martial arts, because you always have the person that's like, well, you know, my neighbor, he's a pretty serious black belt. He had his hands registered as deadly weapons. And you're like, I don't think so. What does he do? Like, and they're like, he Tai Chi. And it's like, I don't even know. Is Tai Chi a martial art? I don't know. I mean, is it like deadly? He's like, he does NASCAR. It's like, what? I don't think so. But like, that's the thing too, is like, you know, one of the things I mentioned to you recently is like, I was really surprised to learn that like the call out thing is not just a jiu-jitsu thing. Like, there's these forums online where like people will be talking about like running shoes or something. Yeah. You'll have some guy get on and be like, yeah, at the recent marathon, I ran this. And people will be like, that's like an Olympic level split. And so they'll get online, you wear the little vests or whatever to tell you what you're like where you are, and they'll like people basically like internet stalk, and they'll be like, no, it turns out like you ran an hour and a half longer than whatever you said you did, and he's like, oh no, it was actually off. They told me at the place like the things were off by an hour and a half that day, and they're like, okay, cool. Well, that would have made it to where the guy that won set the world record by over an hour, and he's like, it was just mine or whatever. And they're like, what? But
I know. I guess the whole point of this episode is like, I just don't understand like the thought process behind why you would do any of that. You know, like why would you lie, or why would you leave out facts?
Why you lying?
Why are you trying to lie, and why are you trying to leave out facts to make people believe something, like to mislead people?
That's about you, bro.
But that's like, I think that's just who I am as a person, is I really value honesty and like the truth, even if it hurts. Like I would rather you tell me like, you know, that was wrong, that was not cool, be honest, like your jiu-jitsu sucks, like you're this, whatever. Tell me that. Like, but that's versus lying to me about like, jiu-jitsu. Oh, but you did great, you know?
That's the point of jiu-jitsu. It's like, it's the antithesis of jiu-jitsu. And
yeah, I think, that's the whole point, is it just flies in the face of like what jiu-jitsu really is.
And I think we'll leave it at that. I mean, we've got some other topics coming up on the show that I think we'll touch on this topic a little bit deeper, so I'll leave it for that. But we want to thank you all for listening. For those that have been following along and subscribing on the different platforms, that's great. If you can leave reviews, that'd be awesome.
Subscribe to YouTube.
I've mentioned before, good or bad, honestly, the reviews, I think it's all the same.
We don't care. Again, remember, I appreciate the truth.
Yep. I mean, but like probably leave a good one.
I'll get mad at you, but I'll appreciate it.
Make it funny if you're going to leave a bad one. And then, make sure you check us out on YouTube and subscribe if you can. Appreciate that. And I think that's it.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
On Not
Fighting.
I like how we coordinated that.